Hey guys, I'm Frosty here, Australian YouTuber, and I'm going to be reacting to patch 12.20 for League of Legends. So there are a couple buffs, a couple nerfs, and a couple system adjustments. So we're going to go through them as they are in the patch notes, and we'll discuss them as we go. So we begin with Aatrox, and it was a nerf, so his passive heal was decreased, and instead of 100% of post-mitigation damage, it's now 80%. So in patch 12.19, they also nerfed Eclipse, as they call out here, because if anyone has been watching Worlds, you'll notice that when Aatrox first buys Eclipse, and because it amplifies his percent max health damage, so I see 20% as a big nerf. And Aatrox currently is sitting at S tier with a 49, or basically a 50% win rate. I imagine this to drop, as this will make his laning harder, and it will also make his team fighting a bit weaker, which will be good for the enemy team. As someone who doesn't like versing Aatrox, I'm very happy about this change. I wish it was changed to 0%, but you know, what can you do? The next one is Akshan. So his E duration has increased, and now you can swing for an infinite amount of time. I have seen someone on Twitter who has just swung around the tower, as they say in the inspiration. How do I feel like this is going to affect them in the game? I imagine that it is going to be a small buff. I think there are some walls where you can get more than maybe another second, so around 4 seconds to 4.5 seconds. And I do see this as a buff. Akshan is currently sitting at a 51.5% win rate. I don't imagine it to go up too high. I imagine his pick rate will go up. But I don't imagine his win rate to skyrocket based off this. So Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank had the majority of the changes in patch 12.19, where they've adjusted him to be more of a jungler, a bit of a bruiser, and I've played Blitzcrank in the jungle. It was a lot of fun, and I'm glad that they're buffing his jungle more. So, reduced his base AD, it's now 60, and they've reduced his base attack speed. That's not going to be fun. That's going to impact the early clear a lot. Passive mana barrier shield amount is now 15 to 45%. So I guess they're trying to insensitize, going for a bit of more, not insensitize. What am I signing here? I guess what they're trying to do is they're trying to make him stronger late game. Let's redo that take. So instead of his shield being 30%, it's now 15 to 45%. How do I think this is going to be? So early game, you'll definitely notice this in early fights. It's halving the shield you get at level 1, and Blitzcrank likes to be skirmishing, so if you're playing support, you will definitely notice this in early fights. It says levels 1 to 18 here. I really wish they had done what they did for the W, and they had actually laid out the scaling. So, okay. So I imagine level 9 is when you'll hit this 30% again. So, level 9 to 18, you'll have a bit more survivability with a bigger shield. I haven't really seen like a pro build for Blitzcrank jungle. When I was playing it, I was going Muramana because I was going, full AD fighter. And this does make that build stronger. So I imagine I'll continue to do that. Now the W, they've made it stronger late game. You clear the jungle quicker. So they've increased it by 40, and the scaling is by level, and it's not by rank in W. So you can see around level 9 once again is where you hit what you initially were at, and then you begin to get stronger in the late game. And the E is a bit of a nerf, so it's changed the damage against champions from 200% to 175%. I don't mind this change that much. It's going to make the fights weaker, but the main goal in these fights is to be just spamming your W and auto-attacking. So I think this is fine. So Blitzcrank in support is currently sitting at a 54% win rate, which is very fair. Also an 11.3% pick rate and 25.8% ban rate, and this is in support, which is fair. In jungle, it's not as great, 44.77%, which honestly I understand. You don't really have cleave, like it's very hard to wave clear, not wave clear, jungle clear. So usually your route is buff, grump, and then gank, scuttle, and then hopefully in that first buy, if you succeed, or you try and save so that your first buy is Tiamat. So then you begin to it's a lot easier to take Gromp and Wolves and those kind of things. Do I expect his win rate in the jungle to go up? Yes, with the buffs to jungle clear in the late game and the shield, I imagine that it will go up. I imagine support will decrease. As I said, you're a lot squishier in the early game, that level 1 to 9. And you're also doing less damage overall with your E in fights. So it'll be a lot harder. So how Elise's Q used to be is that it used to be from the edge of Elise to the center of target's hitbox, but now they changed it to that center of Elise to edge of target's hitbox. They're saying that this is going to help it. It's going to be a quality of life change. I'm hoping it is too, because I have played Elise before, and Elise's Q, it doesn't feel good. And like as they say here, it feels like sometimes you're auto attacking, but your Q range is slightly shorter than that, which you don't want. Looking at stats, Elise is currently on a 51.63% win rate, which is currently S tier in the jungle in solo queue. I imagine that this change will increase her pick rate, which is 4.1% currently, but I do not see her win rate going up that much. Evelyn. So Q bonus damage to marked targets increased, and W charm duration has increased as well. So they've increased the damage by 5 at each rank, and they've increased the W by 0.2.5 seconds at each rank. So this is going to make her Q, it's going to make trading better, it's going to make fights better in the early game. You'll immediately feel this, given that it's from rank 1. The W also, you'll feel that, so early fights are going to be more rewarding for Elise, given that you want to get to level 6 as quickly as possible so that you have your passive and you can be invisible and stalk around the map. And 0.25 seconds is huge. 2.25 seconds CC. Whoosh, you hit that, they're done for. So this is going to be interesting. Elise is currently, not Elise, Evelyn is currently sitting at a 50.28% win rate and a 3.0% pick rate in solo queue. I imagine that win rate is going to go up, and I imagine that pick rate and ban rate are also going to go up. So Gwen, they're buffing the Q, so damage per snip hasn't really gone up by much. 1 at rank 2, 2 at rank 3, 3 at rank 4, 4 at rank 5. But the big thing is the final snip damage, which is now 20 at 5th rank. And given that you max your Q, so you'll have this at level 9. So at level 9, you'll have a big damage increase. And this will also increase your wave clear, given that from rank 2, so from level 4, that you'll begin to feel that bit of oomph, that bit of extra damage. So I think that this will be really good. It'll help in the early game, and if you've versed Gwen before, you know that Gwen's early game is where she suffers. She needs to hit those item spikes. She needs to hit Riftmaker and Nashes. And mid game is where she shines, and that's when she'll have maxed out her Q as well. So that's when she'll be doing the most damage. So I think that this is a good buff. I'm glad that they haven't buffed something like her W, which is the CC immunity, and it's something that I think a lot of players around my rank struggle to play around. So I'm thinking that this is a good small way of increasing, making her healthier. So Gwen is currently sitting at a 47% win rate and a 1.6% pick rate. I imagine that they are both going to increase, and maybe the ban rate will also increase as well. I don't think I don't think this is a big enough buff to send her back into S tier. I imagine she'll be around A tier, hovering around 49 to 50% is my estimate. Jace. So, W mana restoration increased, R bonus magic resist, and armor now scales with bonus attack damage. So the mana restoration, it's very small, and honestly I don't know how it works on W. Oh, it's a tick. Sorry. I do know. It's mana per tick of the W. And the bonus armor and magic resist has a AD ratio on it. Now that is going to be big. Because you have this from level 1, you are going to be feeling tankier in lane, which is going to mean you're less likely to be punished if you trade, because that you'll be able to survive it with your extra resists And I don't think this W change is enough to stop you from getting tier. I think you're still going to have to get tier, but I think it is quite a nice buff, and you'll be feeling it from level 1 if you start, rank 1 of W. Looking at Jace's stats, he's currently also in D tier with a 47% win rate, 2.5% pick rate. I think these are big changes, given that you go pretty much full AD. So I'm thinking that it will shoot him to around 50%, 51%, and the pick rate is also going to go up as well. Kennen, E bonus attack speed adjusted. So now Kennen's E, so bonus attack speed adjusted, and now after you end your E, Kennen's bonus attack speed buff will now allow him to surpass the 2.5 attack speed limit. And so this one I am a bit interested about because I have seen some TikToks going around where you get like a Renata and you just run around with the Kennen and you get like 5 attack speed. It's nutty, and like a Janna. So I don't know if that was PvE, but this is definitely going to make AD Kennen a real possibility again. In terms of stats, Kennen is sitting at a 48% win rate with a 1.6% pick rate, and I don't see this really increasing his win rate or his pick rate, because most people, I don't think, even knows that you could do AD Kennen. They're going to be focusing on AP Kennen, and if you're going just full AP, you're not going to be coming close to this 2.5 attack speed limit anyway, so I don't see this as a big buff. Maokai. So Maokai's passive healing is based on maximum health decrease and R cooldown increase late. So they've nerfed it by 0.5% at level 1 and by 2% at level 17. That's a big change. And the R cooldown is now 110 at level 2 and 100 at level 3. How do I feel about these nerfs? The nerf to the passive is going to be felt from level 1, and I think it's going to make laning against Maokai better. It's going to be worse for the Maokai, and they're definitely going to be feeling it, given that, again, they don't really show what the max was, like how they showed this. They didn't really show what it was before the nerf, but I'm going to say 10% is around 13 to 15. So you're going to be weaker on from that state of the game. And it's going to, and with the ult buff, nerf, the ult nerf, yeah, it's going to make team fights for Maokai harder, and it's going to make it easier for opponents to find windows to fight. So I think that it's not a big nerf. I think the point, the reason why Maokai, one of the reasons why Maokai is strong is the WQ combo, because it's like Pantheon, you have point and click CC, and that's always going to be strong. And they haven't touched that. Like, if they had nerfed that cooldown, I think that would have been a bit of a stronger nerf. But we'll see. We'll have to see how this goes. I think the healing is a good place to touch up Maokai. Because if you look at the stats, Maokai is currently S tier, and if you're watching Worlds, you would have seen Maokai a lot as well. He's currently sitting at a 51% win rate, and a 5.7% pick rate. I imagine that that's going to decrease. I wouldn't say a lot. I'd say around 2% win rate. And I think the ban rate, which is 9.6 currently, I think might go down, because this is going to make counters to Maokai stronger, given the nerfs. So Rammus. The W self-slow removed and the R dash speed increased. Now this one I have been seeing this one on Reddit, and mainly on the Blitzcrank main subreddit, because it doesn't make sense that Blitzcrank is now the only champion with a W that now self-slows. And 12.19, when they did the big touch-up to Blitzcrank's kit and the stats, it would have been a great time to look at the self-slow as well. So with the self-slow removed, this W is going to feel a lot better. The dash speed is also going to feel a lot better, 5%, which means you're going to get quicker to where you want to be. I think that this is a very, very good buff. We'll have to see how this impacts, because essentially what this means is now Rammus can get around the map quicker, as well as in team fights. The self-slow meant that after the taunt, you are able to get away. But this now means that you're going to be taunted, and that Rammus is going to be able to keep up with you because there's no self-slow. So I think that this is going to make Rammus's early ganks very lethal. I think you're always going to have to blow Flash if Rammus lands a taunt. And I think that this can help Rammus a lot. I don't see it impacting the jungle clear. Like there's no damage increase. So the jungle clear is going to remain the same time, but it's going to make the ganks and the team fighting a lot better. Looking at the stats, Rammus is currently at a 48.42% win rate in D tier with a 2.7% pick rate, and interestingly, a 6.5% ban rate. So I think that this will increase all of those three stats. I reckon around 1 to 2%. Again, I don't think it's a big buff. It might decrease as well. Who knows? I think that's one thing I should have mentioned before, is that if pick rate goes up, there's a chance your win rate just stays the same because people are trying and failing. But we'll have to see what happens. Set. Base magic resist decreased. It's down 4. That's very, very big. Passive health regeneration decreased early. Right punch AD ratio increased. Interesting. So the health regeneration is going to make your early game weaker. So this is targeting early game set, as it's the same from, I imagine that's level 6, 11, 17. So early game is, and with the magic resist, I imagine this means that if you're versing set, you're gonna want to run Tank Udyr or Mordekaiser or Gwen or KO, those kind of champions. The right punch AD ratio is interesting as a compensation buff. I don't see why they're buffing the Q, the right punch AD ratio as a compensation buff. I don't think it's going to make things better. It might make sets feel better, wave clear and team fights. But I think that this magic resist nerf is going to be huge. Especially because set mid lane had been popping up when Jojo pulled it out in... I think it was Jojo was the first one to pull it out, Jojo Pyun, at Worlds this year. And in the mid lane, that's when you usually verse mid laners. And the 4 decrease in magic resist means that you're going to get rinsed. So looking at the stats, set is currently at a 50.54% win rate with a 10.4% pick rate and a 5.2% ban rate. I imagine to see all 3 decrease. Not by a lot. I think top set won't be impacted as much by this, again, because the pool of AP champions in the top lane is smaller. So I don't think top lane set will be hit as much by this, but I think definitely mid lane set will get hurt a lot by this change. Wukong. Our AD ratio increased. So they've increased it by 55%. That is a huge increase. And that's going to make... And so this one, I don't really know how it's calculated, the bonus damage. Okay, don't worry about it. So this is going to make fights a lot better, especially from level 6 onwards, which means that you're going to want to teamfight more and dive more into it. I think that this is definitely going to pull him out, buff him, given that this is now 16 seconds of plus 55% damage of your AD. So I'm thinking that this is going to be a buff. This is a buff. I'm thinking that this is going to help him a lot. It's not going to impact his jungle clear or his laning or anything like that. It's purely a team fight buff. And he's currently sitting at a 47.76% win rate with a 1.4% pick rate and a 1% ban rate. I don't think the ban rate will go up. I think the pick rate will slightly go up and the win rate to also slightly go up. But we'll have to see. And the final changed champions is Ziggs. So the Q base damage has increased, and they've added 10 to each rank. So, and I think this is a big buff. You feel this from level 1. I'm pretty sure Ziggs starts Q. I think you go Q, E, W, and then you max Q. So it's going to impact poke, it's going to impact laning, it's going to impact team fights, and it's going to impact wave clear. And that's a tick, 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 tick. So I think that this is going to help Ziggs make him feel a lot healthier. So I think that this is a good buff. In terms of stats, Ziggs is currently sitting at a 50% win rate 1% pick rate, has 0.1% ban rate. I don't think that ban rate is going to go up that much, well, if anything at all. And I honestly don't see that pick rate going up too much either. But I think this will be an increase to the win rate. I reckon around 1 to 2%. Items. So Demonic Embrace. So they are trying to tune this more to AP bruisers and less for tanks. So they're decreasing the health by 100, increasing the AP by 10, and they're decreasing the burn damage per tick to by 0.2% maximum health. I think this is a big nerf to AP tanks like Zank, Amumu, and Udyr, as it's going to mean that they are doing out less damage. And I think a complaint that I have is that it is feeling in this durability patch, it is feeling a bit skewed towards these tanks who can not only soak a lot amount of damage but also dish out a lot of damage. And a lot of them also have a lot of CC. So Zach's got the E, Amumu Q, Udyr E, and then the R, so it's guaranteed. So I'm thinking that this nerf is going to be... I wouldn't say it's a nerf. It's a nerf to some champions, but then it's a buff to some other champions, like Diana. So I think it's going to be good. It's going to be harder for Zac, Amumu, and Udyr. It's going to impact their wave clear a little bit. I think they get its second item after Sunfire. So it'll impact... Actually, no, it won't impact your... Retake. This is going to make your jungle clear, your wave clear a lot better, given that you have the extra ability power. So you will take things quicker, but it will make team fights harder. Next item, Frozen Heart. So they've nerfed the cost by 200, and the combined cost, and they've buffed the armor by 10, and they've nerfed the rock solid damage reduction by 2. So apparently the reason why they've done this is because it's an early rush item on non-tanks. I haven't really seen this happen, so that's interesting. But nerfing the cost is going to impact every single champion that wants to buy this. So it's an indirect nerf to tanks and non-tanks. Interesting. You buff the armor. I think that's a compensation buff for tanks. But then it also, the rock solid damage is a reduction. So I don't know if that equalizes out. Mortal Reminder. They've increased the total cost by 100, they've increased the attack damage by 10, and they've decreased the attack speed by 5%. I don't see... So they're saying that it competes directly with Phantom Dance in terms of stats, but this is pretty much the ADC's only option for Grievous Wounds. And given that the durability patch is starting to fade out, given that damage is beginning to be buffed again, I don't see... people still taking... Well, in terms of competition, definitely. But like ADCs are always going to go Mortal Reminder if they need Grievous Wounds. And then finally, Steric's Gauge. So they're buffing the AD, and they are buffing the health. This is a big change. And this is going to make fighters a lot better. In terms of comparing to Death's Dance, I guess it's now Poke Los Dos. Why don't you just get both? And that's going to make fighters a lot more annoying. And I don't see this as... There's no like nerf here, this is purely buff. It will mean that you will have to itemize. You'll have to decide on your itemization, which is what they're going for here. I don't really know what you'd sacrifice for this. I imagine maybe Black Cleaver or Edge of Night or some items like that. But it'll be interesting to see what the builds that come up are. And then runes, they've capped the bonus auto attack range for 50 for both. Very happy with this, as it has been quite annoying, and it's a good nerf. No nerf for melee champions, which means like Lethal Tempo Trundle is still going to be really annoying to verse. I don't know if you've versed it before, but it's... You just get run down, and it's not fun. This also is sadly is a nerf for ADCs, things like Twitch, Xayah, those kind of champions. And we'll have to see if they change, if the meta makes it so that they change what rune they run, or they just continue to run Lethal Tempo. And yeah, that's pretty much all the changes. I think this patch is, I think it's a good patch. I think they're nerfing some S tier. Aatrox, Maokai, said they're all S tier, so I think those are good nerfs. If I'm honest, I'd like to see more. And I think that some of these buffs are a bit... They're not going to do much. For example, the Rammus buff and the Cannon buff is not really going to do much. Jace, Evelynn, and Gwen, I think, are the definite winners of this patch. Same with Wukong and Ziggs. They're all going to feel healthier, so they are the winners of this patch. Awesome. Well, thank you all for, if you're still here, for listening. I hope you all have a good day/night. Bye.